The outline for tonight is basically, number one, to look critically at the claims of Isaiah 53 referring to Jesus. Meaning, we will look closer at the description given in Isaiah 53 and see whether or not what we know about Jesus lines up with what's being described here in Isaiah 53. The second part of tonight's class is to look in Tanakh itself to see whether or not there is another candidate that can fit as the subject of Isaiah 53. I'd like to start with a general principle when it comes to any kind of teaching, any kind of doctrine, any kind of principle that we want to derive from the Torah, from the Bible. When somebody wants to come along and say that Torah teaches any particular thing, you want to look for at least two basic criteria. Number one, the teaching should be clear. What do I mean by clear? What I mean by clear is that it is a passage that when the average person opens up the Bible, reads the passage, he himself identifies it as the subject you claim it is talking about. So for example, when we talk about the Messiah, and we open up the book of Isaiah to chapter 11, and we say chapter 11 in Isaiah is talking about the Messiah, both Jews and Christians, when reading it, admit that this is clearly a passage talking about the Messiah. Another thing we want to look for is consistency. In other words, corroboration. If you were to say that Isaiah 11 is talking about the Messiah, and somebody were to come along and say, well, I don't necessarily believe that it's talking about the Messiah. It talks about universal peace, it talks about a king, it talks about universal knowledge of God that will happen at the end of ages, but you know what? I don't necessarily believe that this is what the passage is coming to teach. You want to be able to now go and look elsewhere in the Bible for corroboration. Meaning, does anywhere else in the Bible give us a picture of a utopian age that will be an age characterized by universal peace and universal knowledge of God? The answer is yes. There's, for example, Jeremiah 23, there's Zechariah 9, there's Isaiah chapter 2. There are many places, and even in the Torah itself, in the 5 books of Moses, you have Deuteronomy chapter 30, which talk about a time and an age where the Jewish people will be gathered back into their land, and they will prosper, and they will be once again in good relationship with God, keeping all the Torah and the mitzvahs. So we want to be able to find, number one, passages which are clear, and passages which are consistent.